everybody, and welcome to Kicking It on the Blue Couch podcast. I am your host, Casey, and we are here with my co-host, Miss Lania.
Hey guys!
Could you guys believe that we're on episode number 9 already? We only have 10 episodes this season. What do you think about that?
Listen, we had a great run.
I have been loving it.
Back.
Yes, we'll be right back with some more awesome topics. So, this week we are talking about our own toxicity. When did you realize that you were the toxic one? And I know, nowadays a lot of people like to throw out toxic this, toxic that. But there's some real truth to being toxic. And it doesn't necessarily only have to be in romantic relationships. A lot of the times when you think about toxic behaviors or when you think about patterns in our relationships and things, they come from childhood experiences.
And trauma.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And those things kind of shape us to be the person we are in all relationships.
And it makes you look at things from a closed perspective, because it's like, I know what's going to happen because it happened already, or I've been through this before. So instead of giving everybody a clean slate in friendships, relationships, or whatever, it's like once you've already been stung by a bee, you think all bees going to sting you.
Why do you think people can see that pattern and stay in it?
Because there's a lot of reasons, but one is being a victim gets you a lot of attention. So sometimes people wallow in the things that make them relevant or hurt them, so that they can always be like, but I'm like this because of what happened to me. I'm like this because of the things I've been through. But sometimes you got to actively choose to change the narrative.
Do you think that you have to be told that you have these patterns or you have these behaviors, or do you think that you know?
I think that everybody knows who they are. Sometimes people need to show you how it's affecting them. Like, I might think I'm okay with the way that I cope or the way that I handle certain situations, but I might be bleeding on people who never cut me because of the way I deal with certain things. So if someone that I genuinely care about and I respect their opinion tells me that some things that I do are unsettling, I'm definitely going to look at it and try to reevaluate how I handle those things, because I might not see it from their perspective. And it doesn't mean that they're actually right and I'm a horrible person, but there's some things that I might can change, or I can explain why I'm doing these things, so maybe we both can have a clear understanding of what's going on.
I think even before it gets to that point, I think some people have to be shown that pattern for themselves. Because I can think that I'm not doing anything wrong. Mm-hmm. I'm used to this. This is how I've always moved. Why is this a problem now? And then when somebody points it out, and then somebody else points it out, and then somebody else points it out, and you have to look at yourself and think like, well, dang, am I the problem? Am I really doing these things with no ill intent? You might not intentionally be meaning to cause harm, or, not doing it with any malice, but you have to be able to hear the things that are constantly or steadily being said to you and eventually take some accountability for those things.
And I absolutely agree. But you also have to sometimes see where it's coming from, because some people will gaslight you into thinking that the things that you are doing are like boundaries that we set. They'll try to gaslight you into thinking that the boundaries you set have caused a traumatic experience for them, but it's only because they can't control how you maneuver in certain spaces anymore. So I think it's a catch-22, but we always have to remember that everything starts within. Mm-hmm. And that's how you'll know if you have absolute toxic traits or if you're actually choosing yourself. And I think that's where you have to learn to differentiate.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that you said is that some of our what we can call toxic traits come from trauma. And a lot of the things that we experienced as children, we can't pick those things, you know? We can't pick the behaviors that we picked up or learned, the things we learned from our parents or the environment around us. So we can't, don't take that on, but realize that it plays a role in who you are. And nowadays, people are realizing that, we don't have to be who our parents were, or we don't have to take it as truth the way our parents parented them.
We also have to realize that we can't even operate in that space anyway.
Right.
Like the way society has changed, the way everything has changed, the way that everyone is checking in on their mental spaces and things of that nature. There's no room to be able to operate the way that we used to and that our ancestors or our elders has. There's no way.
Absolutely. We definitely are in a different generation where this society looks different now, and you have to be able to adjust. And it's funny because I say to my mom all the time, like, your way of thinking is just so old school, and you can't continue to parent or grandparent that way because it's not helpful. It's not helpful. And sometimes, so recently, I asked Boo to throw something away from me twice. No, I asked him to throw something away, and I asked him to get me a piece of gum. And he was like, I'm tired of doing things for you. I'm just tired. And I was like, fine. You don't want to do nothing for me? I'm not going to do nothing for you. And he like bawled, bust out crying. And then my husband was like, remember when you was a kid and you didn't feel like doing something and you couldn't say that you didn't feel like doing it. You just had to do it.
Yes. Literally call you out from outside to come change your television or something.
That's funny. And then I had to look at myself and be like, dang, I did to him what I wasn't. I was like, listen, I had you to do stuff for me. And my husband's like, no, you didn't.
That's not even a
right. And it made me have to look at myself in the mirror and be like, just because it happened to me doesn't mean it was right.
It's so funny because Jordan does this thing. Like, if I ask him to do something, he waits for the thank you or whatever. And it's like, he literally waits and he'd be like, I'm waiting. And I'm just like, in real life, if I ever tried to do that with my mom, she would have probably pat my little head and told me to go about my business. But he literally, like, you forgot something? And I'll be like, thank you, bud. And he'll be like, oh, you're welcome. like their standards are so, the fact that they know that they can
operate like
demand these things and get them. It's so crazy. Because I'll just be like, I wouldn't have dared looked at my mom like that as if she owed me something. And he just like.
But when I tell my mom those things about her own patterns and behaviors, she, at first, like, she used to push back, like, whatever, I'm right, you're wrong. But now I can actively see her doing the things
processing.
Yep, okay, I can't respond that way. Or if she initially responds that way, the next day she's rethought it. She had time to process it. And it's great. I love to see that. I love to see that people can actually change their behaviors. Because you don't have to stay in what we can call toxicity. You don't have to stay in that. Once you recognize that your approach isn't moving the way that you thought it was going to work, then you can change it.
Yes.
And when you see the effect that it has on other people, you can change it. Now, if you choose not to change it, then we can introduce toxicity, because some people like that. The emotional drive that comes from being in a toxic situation in any form of a relationship is real. Like, it's addicting for some people. So let me ask you this question. When did you have your aha moment that you were the toxic one? Because I know you, so.
What? First and foremost, the last part of your comment, I'm a little confused about the because I know you part. But
we can act brand new.
I didn't realize I was toxic. I was the toxic one until I started doing my journey as far as therapy. And honestly, some of my more recent interactions with people showed me, because I used to operate in a space where I I fight or flight. Like, I'll just leave a situation before I actually try to figure out how to make it work. And that was how I operated for a long time. And then that was a form of toxicity, but it wasn't really something that I acknowledged. But recently, in a situation I was in, I legit functioned in a space with, like, oh, if you do this, I gotta do this. Like, I gotta one up you. I have to make it, I gotta act a little crazy or something like that. And it was like, girl, what are you doing?
I think we all go through that, though.
What is happening? Like, I'll call that phone 32 times in two minutes if I felt like it. Then it's like, but why?
But why?
Literally, like, but, like, I have no reason. Like, there's no reason there. There's no reason. Somebody could be asleep. Somebody could be working. Like, there's literally a logical reason for your phone call not being answered, but there's no logical reason you called 32 times in 2 minutes. Like,
so from a therapeutic perspective, when I was saying, like, the emotional aspect of it is addicting for some people, it really is. Like, of course, you know better. You know, why would I blow somebody's phone up like this? Or why do I keep going back to a situation and going through the same cycle continuously? It's because my emotional drive is being met. Like, I feel needed, I feel wanted, I feel crazy, I feel all these emotional things, and that person is receptive of it because they're matching my energy. And that's not healthy. It's not healthy. And even in friendships, we can be toxic in our friendships because we are needing and requiring so much of people. And a lot of times people's response to our toxicity is to feed it. Like, they are always there. They're always active. And we burn people out that way. Mm-hmm. You can burn out your family members. You can burn out your friends. You can burn out your significant other. So when those patterns are presented to you, and you have to be forced to see them, you got to make a decision in that moment. Do I take on these things that people are telling me and I choose to see them for what they are and change them? Or do I not?
So I honestly believe it's all about how it's presented to you.
Okay.
Because you can tell me a million times that you get on my nerves, you only think about yourself. And it's like, I might not receive that because it's only coming from a place of anger. I only hear it when you feel like I'm not doing something you want me to do or something like that. Now, if there's a sincere conversation and it's like, hey, I realize that the things that we always seem to do only benefit you. Mm-hmm. It's always about delivery with me. Because I can listen to you tell me something, but if I feel like you're doing it to hurt my feelings, I might not even process it. But if I feel like you're being genuine in the way that we're having this conversation, I might, just because of the fact that you're showing me that you actually care about something, something I'm doing is hurting you, I will probably take it into consideration way more than you screaming it in my head or like screaming in my face or something like that. You have to, if you want people to really actively hear you, mm-hmm.
you gotta say
it in a way that they can receive it.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, but for me, first of all, I'm not toxic.
Oh.
Accountability, not there.
Not. I wish there was a way to show my text messages, because there is toxicity in friendships. This is what we're trying to prove.
Anyway.
Okay.
My mom and my husband always used to say to me, Casey, it's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. Why you always got to talk like that? Why your tone get like that? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not saying anything any type of way. Y'all just always have a problem of blah, 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 blah. And even though it was never said to me in a, well, let me tell you about your tone, or, in a way like you just described it, where I could receive it, I got tired of hearing them say this. So here's my accountability. So what I did was, I took everything they were saying into account, but for all the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to make sure that I pay attention to what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. So next time when they say, well, why you're telling like that, I could be like, ha, it's you and not me. And that actually backfired.
Oh, I was about to say, I couldn't wait till you actually said that part, because it was like, oh, maybe they was telling the truth.
And that's exactly what it was. It was like, Casey, why are you talking to people like this? I had to look at myself in the mirror and be able to stand on my own flaws,
mm-hmm.
because they're there.
Yes.
And when I was able to accept that I have flaws and I don't have to be toxic,
mm-hmm.
with my quotation marks, because they can't see. What was that, parentheses? Quotation marks. With my quotation marks.
Parentheses?
Not parentheses, a quote. So what my quotation marks, because I'm not toxic, but I do have some traits about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that they definitely go back to my childhood. I feel like I was so quiet and like not outspoken as a child that when things come out now, they come out how they come out. And it's because they've been sitting there.
Word vomit.
Yeah. And sometimes I do have to backpedal on the things that I'm saying, or sometimes now, I have to think about what I'm saying before I say it. People ask me all the time, why'd you get into anger management? It's because I needed it. I needed to be able to see my own behaviors through a different perspective and then be able to teach that, because I'm not a yeller when I'm angry, but I can spit fire in a whole nother way.
Oh my goodness. My little sister used to always say, like, you talk to people like you think you're better than them. And I used to be like, girl, I'm flawed like everybody else, and I never understood it. And then sometimes I replayed some conversations that we had, and it was just like, and I think it was never me trying to talk down on her. It was just the relationship we had back then was more of a parenting, like a mom-daughter type of situation. So everything she was receiving from me, she felt like it was because I thought I was better than her, but I was actually saying, I did this already, so you don't have to go through it. But she wasn't receiving it like that, because she's looking at me like, you just making it seem like you never did any of the things I do. But now that our relationship has changed and it's more of a confidant and things of that nature, our conversations are different, and and the way that she receives it is totally different, and we can have a lot of conversations that we never was able to have before. Because I used to always be like, everybody talks to me like, there's every little cousin, every younger person under me comes and tell me like their deepest, darkest things, and it's like my little sister will be like, nope, I'm gonna go tell such and such, and I just be like, why does she feel like she can't talk to me? And then I always replay how our conversations was like, no, Brandon, you can't do this. No, no. And then it was just like, I was the mother figure, and now she just like, I'm not about to tell you that I was outside. Like, right. Sis, I can't do that. But now I see the shift, and it's like, there wasn't any toxicity that I was like trying to I wasn't trying to show toxicity, but I was still somehow giving it off. And now that I changed the way that I talk, she's more open to talking to me.
I think that is very important, to being able to, again, hold that mirror up to yourself. What am I giving off that somebody else is receiving the way that they're receiving? And like you said earlier, sometimes people receive things because that's the way they want to hear it. Absolutely. But sometimes we actually do be the problem. And when we can realize and recognize that, then that makes all the difference in every relationship. Because now that I know these things, if that relationship means that much to me, I could do something about it. But the hard part about it in a lot of relationships is being able to receive that, being able to hear that, because I can humble myself, and I'm just getting around to being able to humble myself and take accountability. But can you humble yourself enough to hear what it is that I'm saying?
So for me now, I literally want everybody to tell me how they feel about everything. And that's only because I don't want to be thinking that we everything's copacetic and somewhere somehow you raging inside towards me, and then I'm sitting here like,
I've lost many
oh,
friends.
tell me how you really feel.
I've lost many of friends because of those very things.
Literally, like it's like every place that I'm operating from right now is about me being accountable, but also you allowing me to know what I'm doing to hurt you, or if it's something that's triggering you, I just need to know so I can keep the relationships that I have in good standing and in good places. So I don't really feel like, excuse me, if somebody told me that something that I was doing was a problem, I wouldn't be able to receive it now. Now, the question was, when did I realize I was toxic? And I'm going to say, when I started replaying lots of situations in my head, and I'm just like, Linnea, you did not have to do that. Now, what did you do it for? What made you do that? Like, why'd you go that far and then go farther?
So I'm assuming you're speaking of a relationship or a situationship. What about in family ships?
I'm speaking about all of those things because if it's up, it's up. Like, I will unfriend, unmom, uncousin, unsister. Like, but I'm saying I used to go too far because I could have literally just been like, yep, I didn't like that. But I'll allow so many things to pile up to the point where I snapped and now we're just done. Instead of like, hey, you know, on Tuesday when you had that green shirt on, it didn't really sit well with my spirit, so it kind of bothered me. And then on Thursday, you had a nerve to come in here with them big old braids and that red. Like, if I would have just started with that one little problem instead of allowing the 25 to pile up, I could have been able to maneuver differently.
It all boils down to healthy communication. Toxicity is really just not knowing how to communicate and not knowing how to take or accept accountability for your wrongs and situations.
That's definitely true, because it's like, I used to be like, oh, you don't answer me, that means you want me to come to where you are. And now I've showed up somewhere where I didn't even need to be there because I wasn't invited. And now I'm probably coming already in a already in a space of confrontation. So it's like I'm going to go from 0 to 100, but I'm probably not going to stop until I hit 1,000.
Right.
And now it's just like, for what?
And that's because honestly, once you've hit that place, you can't come back down from it. You got to be able to catch yourself before it gets to that place. But that's me being a whole nerd about a lot of things. But if we can learn to have conversations in the right way, you know how many relationships will look so different.
Absolutely.
I could probably salvage, not that I want to because I'm not going back, but I could probably salvage so many relationships, friendships, just by having a conversation about where things went left, or how I felt about a situation, or hear somebody else out about how they felt about a situation.
So, I agree, but to an extent, because just because you are able to have those conversations and take the accountability for the part you played, if the other participant is not, it's still going to look the same.
Absolutely. So let me say, not salvage a relationship, but maybe salvage my feelings as a result of the relationship. Because I had a lot of heartbroken moments from losing friends.
Yeah, I was about to say, friends can break your heart too.
Yes. I've had a lot of nights where I sat up and been like, well, dang, that was really my dog. Like, but now I'm like, see ya, you know. But if I would have been able to have different conversations,
I know you from where?
Right?
I don't know you, man.
Not at all. Not at all. But honestly, if I was able to have some different type of conversations with people, then it could have salvaged a lot of relationships. Now, last year, my therapist sent me on a confrontation tour, and I went and I went on that confrontation tour.
Everybody
was catching it. Everybody was catching it. But that is when I realized the importance of being able to have conversations. Because on this confrontation tour, I wasn't just word vomiting anymore. I wasn't just saying why I was hurt. I was also saying what other people did, what you could have done differently, how I may have received it, if I could have been wrong, how long I held it in. I was having the conversations. I was open to listening to the things that people were saying back to me, and then it helped me to be able to shift my perspective. I don't have to look at things this way. I don't have to take things this way, and then when I feel a way, I can speak on it right then instead of holding it in for so long and building up the fact that now I have to be this way to this person because, sometimes people will come to my house and I'm closing the door.
So I'm not going to say my therapist sent me on a confrontational tour. I'm going to say in the beginning of my sessions, I had communication issues with everybody. I used to just rather bow out of a conversation than to have the hard conversations because I didn't want to hurt the people that meant the most to me. I didn't want anything that I said, even though it was hurting me, even though it was bothering me and I was wearing it, I didn't want it to harm anybody else. So my therapist was just like, hey, you need to have some conversations with people and not to hurt them, but to tell them how you feel. And you need to have the conversations, but you're the only person that's going to be talking. Mm-hmm. So you have to literally call the people or meet up with the people that you need to have these conversations with and say, hey, I'm going to say everything that I need to say and then I'm going to leave. I'm going to say everything I need to say and then I'm going to hang up. I'm going to say everything I need to say and then you say nothing. We move on into a different space of a different conversation. And when I did that, I'm on the phone like, you know what? I don't like that you do this and this, that, and the third. And it wasn't coming from a place. My intentions for those conversations were to feel better, to make me feel better.
Right.
So I know I didn't go into those conversations with malice. So I never, ever I had the conversations, but the people that I had them with, they received them so much better because I'm not coming from a place, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm coming from a place of me just needing to release. Mm-hmm. And the people that cared enough to have those conversations and listen to me received them so well.
I think that's the key though. You got to be able to hear what somebody is saying.
Oh my goodness. I'm just reflecting and it's like, I could have did this a long time ago if I didn't doubt that. I used to have an issue with thinking people didn't care about me the way I cared about them. So I used to be like, I'm not saying nothing to them because if they say they don't care, then that's just going to hurt me even more. And then it just showed me like, hey, you got some solid people in your space.
Right.
But the ones that's shifting can't be in your space no more.
Absolutely.
And a lot of shifts happened. And now I'm here with a solid foundation in every aspect outside of being single, But like family wise and friendship wise, all of my friendships and my everything is solid now. And the things that used to hurt me, I've come to terms with. Mm-hmm. So I can't say I'm toxic in the way I think, except for when there's some outside interference.
Okay. I'm going to say, for me, I've seen, maybe not participated in, but I've watched a lot of unhealthy relationships transpire. And I've kind of watched the patterns and how they play out and how people just continue to go through that cycle. And when you think about the relationships that we saw and dealt with as kids, or our environments around us, I always come back to the question of why do you feel like you have to relive those moments or replay those moments or deal in situations that aren't conducive to your own well-being? Like, who honestly wants to choose to be in a escalated environment all the time. Like, I am so in love with my peace. I am so in love with
So
that.
I'm gonna actually switch it. Well, not switch it up, but just from me, I'm gonna just speak from for me. I, because of my childhood and the things that I see and the relationships I see, it made me a runner in my
Okay.
adult relationships. Like if I felt like it was going to the space where I used to see other people operate when I was a child, I would legit just be like, it's over. Like I've came out of a marriage. I've come out of marriages. Well, only been married once.
Not
Not
marriages.
without an S. I've come out of things without. I'm not gonna say without a fight because I did try before. I just was like, all right, peace, I'm out. But I literally would not stay in a situation where I felt like it was turning into everything, the patterns that I was so
Yeah.
privy to when I was young.
You know what? It just clicked for me when you said that, because when you said the relationships that you saw were around you became a runner, and so if you saw relationships that kind of stuck together and stuck it out, then you choose to stick it out with somebody regardless, because that's what you saw, but that's not necessarily what you have to do.
Yeah, and that's why I was a runner for a long time, and I say was as if since I've identified that trait that I've been in a space to actually operate differently, but I haven't. But I will be, and I know the tools to make things work, but I also know when enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that I really appreciate in this space that I'm in, because I am never going to be in any ships that doesn't have a foundation of peace.
Do you think you have to go through enough heartbreaks and heartaches to realize when enough is enough? Or do you think like life lessons have to teach you that enough is enough and I deserve better? Or how do you get to that place of saying I don't have to be this way anymore?
I honestly think it depends on the person, because some people have that fighter spirit. Like, no, I'm going to fight for the person that I love. I'm going to fight for this. And they stay in a lot of things way longer than they should have, because they're like, I see potential in you. I know you could be better. I know, like, but the potential that they see in the things that they know this person can do is only because of the love they have, because the person is showing them like, no, I don't even want to do that. Like, there's nothing in me that wants to do that for you.
But
like,
that's crazy, because not even like, as you're saying that, it's not even just relationships.
Yeah,
like
no, I'm not. Yes,
siblings,
I'm talking about every aspect of your life. Like, you literally will fight to save somebody who's like, there's nothing for you to save.
Right.
Like, I'm out here living and you over there literally trying to repent or like take my sins away, and I'm living.
Right.
Like, baby, like, come over here.
And
like
and you really have to be okay with letting a lot of that stuff go.
But when you get to the space where it's like you can only operate from the things that you can control, because I used to have a control issue, and I think I think that's where my toxicity brewed, because I had control issues. If I allow you to do this to me, if I allowed you to have this control over me, then you're going to do whatever you want to do to me and make me feel however you want me to feel. So now I have to control the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta talk to you when I feel like talking to you. We only talk if you call, like, things of that nature. I had so many things, so many rules that nobody even knew were rules. And it's like, oh no, you broke that rule, but you never even knew. But now that I know what I'm going to deal with, what I'm not going to deal with, how I want to deal with it, and when too much is just enough, a lot of things make so much sense. And it's funny because I'm saying this, but I have a situation that got me in a chokehold, and it's like I literally operate in that space because I want to, and I know it. But then it's just like, you gonna get up out of there, or you gonna keep dealing with it. But those when you know that you have to make those choices, it's like kind of fun right now.
I think it's so important to be able to realize your own flaws, to be able to stand in your own flaws, and to be able to hear them. Because when you can hear them and recognize them and own them, then you honestly got all the power and control that you're looking for, that you need to do something about them. And you're only going to get to that point when you're ready. So, you can hear all the stories in the world, you can hear and see all the things from different people, but when life hits you enough for you to realize that I don't want to deal with toxicity anymore, or I don't want to be toxic anymore, then you're really going to be ready to make those changes.
Absolutely. I bet everybody think that part was about them.
and then because it really is for all of us, because we all go through the same stuff, and we all sit in that and be like, I'm the only person that's this way. And no, we it's a process. It's a process. And some days I revert back to having that snappy attitude, that mouth. And that's because sometimes I go back to being that 14-year-old who couldn't say what it is that I need to say. But I have to remind myself that I am an adult, and that I can choose the relationships that I want to be in, the people who I want around me. And if I don't want to operate in a bunch of toxicity, I don't have to.
And it's so crazy because you always go back to how when you were younger, you didn't really speak up for yourself, and it was like I was the total opposite. Literally, like there was like what, like you got something you want to say, but that was me, a coping mechanism also, because it's like if I get to you before you get to me, you ain't never going to be able to hurt my feelings or whatever.
Even that's a toxic pattern.
Absolutely. But that was because I had some issues that when I was younger, nobody ever wanted to know if I was okay. So I just had to automatically say, like, I'm strong, I'm big, I'm the big bad wolf. So that...
And you had to be physically seen that way.
Yeah. Because if not, then I was always, like, short and stuff like that. I felt like if you think you can pick on me, you're going to pick on me. So I might as well just show you that this is not sweet at all.
I think as a takeaway, though, everybody just needs to realize that you don't have to continue in the patterns that you've become accustomed to just because they bring some emotional or tick some emotional box for you. You can choose your own peace, and I'm telling you, I've been living in peace and I'm loving it. Now, sometimes I'll be bored and I'll be like, man, I'm about to start some drama. I'm about to start something, and then I just go back to, what's that going to do for me? I just want people to be able to know that once you realize and recognize your own patterns, you can change them. That power and control is in your hands. And it's okay to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? Today I was the problem. Today I was the problem, but tomorrow I'm going to find a solution, or I'm going to be the solution. I'm going to choose to do something different.
I want everyone to know that if you're actively trying to be a better person, you are going to be met with a lot of conflict, because everything that you used to do is going to look like it was the wrong thing to do all the time. And you're going to have to actively keep pushing through the things that you're always used to doing and do something different, because once you realize the power you have in changing how you move, because a lot of people are always going to operate with that person that you used to be, because it brings them solace in their own issues. They don't have to, if they keep telling you how screwed up you are, they don't have to look in the mirror. But if you have actively realized the things that you need to work on and you're working on them, do not allow anybody to make you revert back to that old person. And it's going to be hard. Like she said, you're going to have those days where it's like, I just want to start a pot. But don't let those days turn into weeks and have you right back into the space you fought so hard to get out of.
See your own progress and know that it's enough. I feel like affirmations are so important when it comes to like fighting your own demons, your old ways, being able to say, you know what, I am better than that.
I am better than yesterday. I was yesterday. Literally.
Absolutely. Because nobody, like you said, nobody else is gonna give you that. They're gonna say, no, you are who you were yesterday.
Nope, that smart mouth you always had, that's you. And it's just like, not probably, but
I have that in me.
I'm gonna pray for you too. How about that?
Absolutely.
You literally, you have to make solid choices and make them with good intentions. And be intentional in the way that you speak. Be intentional in the way that you think. Because all of those things matter. And you are going, if you have good thoughts and positive thoughts, everything is going to start changing for you.
Yeah, shout out to therapy, man. Therapy changed my life. It just helped me to be able to see things in a way that I wasn't able to see them before. It helped me to be able to communicate in ways that I was closed off to communicate in. And it made me look in the mirror.
Yeah, I literally had communication issues. I would literally did situations with no communication, nothing. And it was just, I just used to be like, they know what they did. But sometimes it's not even about what they did. It's about how it made you feel. And you have all the right in the world to tell somebody what they did to you and how it made you feel. And once I realized that, everybody know Lania gonna tell you how she feel. Literally. Like,
so I think talk it out instead of act it out. Like, just talk it out, have the conversation instead of letting your behaviors dictate the situation. And that just gotta be that.
I'm just so glad that I can say that I was so young when I was doing the things that.
Were you?
Yes, as far as reaction wise, now I'm talking it out.
Okay.
Instead of
acting it out.
Literally, I am.
doing the things. Yes.
I really be doing the thing.
Well, because we want to go ahead and end this on a good note, you guys, of course, we have a Would You Rather. Miss Linnea, hit us with the Would You Rather.
The Would You Rather for this week is, would you rather relive all of your toxic moments through today's eyes as you think and see right now, or never have the toxic moments that made you who you are today?
I'm going to relive them through today's eyes, because let me judge myself for my past behaviors and actions and things like that, because those moments help me to be who I am today, right now. Learn from them, grow from them, and hold myself accountable for my past behaviors. If I never got to experience them, then I could still be acting a fool right now, because I didn't do it then. So let me keep those moments and see myself through today's perspective, because I am a much different person today than I was when I was younger.
So the toxic Linnea would pick the relive the toxic moments because I got some new ways of messing some ish up. It's like, just playing. But I'm actually going to choose that also. I would like to relive my toxic moments through today's eyes, only so that I can process them differently. Like she so adequately pointed out, I used to solve my issues with actions and not conversations. I would love to be able to relive some of these things so that I could have conversations instead of busting somebody's windows or something. I would like to.
Oh no, don't start telling your secrets now.
No. I was just saying that's usually probably what people did when they were younger, like toxic people.
So what would you guys pick? Let us know.
Yes.
Thank you for kicking it on the blue couch with us for our 9th episode, and we will see you next week for number 10. Bye.
Bye guys. Bye-bye.